Since a lot of offices have been closed for the past year due to the COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of individuals have found that they have now a very serious use case for needing a printer. I'm Beth Motter here with ZDNet's David Gewirtz. David, you took a different approach with this best list to find some of the best printers around. Can you explain how you evaluated these printers?
Yeah, there are millions of printers out there. I mean, that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but there are clearly thousands of printers. And what we normally do is we'll normally go through and pick printers, bring them in for evaluation, sometimes base them on recommendations and things like that. But this time I decided I wanted to crowdsource the results of what's the best printer. And so I did a rough form of sentiment analysis. Sentiment analysis is the sort of fancy marketing term for what users think about stuff. So what I did is I went through Amazon and I found I took the number of reviews multiplied by the average number of stars. So in other words, if you had a 4-star rating and you multiplied it by the number of reviews, you got a better thing than if you had a 1-star rating. So I took the number of reviews, multiplied it by the number of stars to come up with a sentiment score. And then I took the top 3 for each of the categories that I was looking at and used that as the result for what would be considered the best printer, because more users who like it more is a pretty good indicator of what is a good printer and what isn't. And the results, actually, I found a few surprises in a couple of the categories. So that was kind of interesting. The printers that I might have chosen based on one set of criteria were actually pretty different from what buyer sentiment showed in this analysis. So it was really cool.
Yeah, very interesting approach. That's definitely different than what you've done in the past. Can you explain what categories did you use?
So I took what are the sort of the 3 main consumer categories of printers, which are inkjets, photo printers, and laser printers. I left out a lot of the industrial things. I left out the label printers for people who are doing eBay and Etsy stores. I left out the industrial printers that print on sides of boxes and things like that, and just went with the 3 that most home office people or consumers were interested in. That was, again, inkjet, photo, and laser.
Okay, David. And now just really quick for me, could you potentially do like a lightning round run through of the winners for each category?
Okay, hang on to your hat. Here we go. All right, in the inkjet category, this one actually made some sense in terms of what I would expect. The top winner was the Canon Pixma MG3620 wireless all-in-one printer, which ranges from $77 to $110, and that had a sentiment score of 51,408, which basically was, again, the multiplication of the number of buyers by the number of reviews. The next one up was the $229 HP OfficeJet Pro 9015 all-in-one, and that was followed by the $129 HP NV6055 all-in-one. 2 things about this. All 3 were all-in-ones. The Pixma has a wide price range from 77 to 110. And one of the things that we found was that vendors were adding very high shipping charges. So if you buy these things, either get them through Prime or double check the shipping charges, because the price may be low, but it's almost double in the shipping charges for some vendors. So coming up next were the photo category, and this was unexpected. None of them were the traditional 8.5 by 11 borderless photo printers. Photo printers, as most journalists would look at it, would be a printer that prints on very nice photo stock paper and goes borderless. So you can print out something that you can mount on the wall or something like that. None of these were that. These were basically smaller printers. They were fun printers for photo printers, and they were also the old school brands. One of the commenters said that they thought that Kodak and Fujifilm had died years ago, but our leading photo printers were from Fujifilm and Kodak. So the number 1 winner was the $99 Fujifilm Instax Mini Link smartphone printer, which prints wallet-sized prints. Now, this was unusual because it had over 10,000 reviews with a 5-star average. Now, most of us know how much printers are a pain. So to find a 10,000 review 5-star average printer means that there must be something very special about this printer. It had a sentiment rating of 52,330. Next up was the $119 Kodak dock and Wi-Fi portable 4x6-inch instant photo printer. And basically, this thing would print 4x6 photos, but it also was a dock for your phone. So it would also charge your phone at the same time. And then coming up at the back end of this was a $59 Kodak Step wireless mobile photo printer. And this prints 2x3-inch sticky labels. And it was the third most popular printer of the photo printer of the photo printers. People are apparently printing little tiny sticky labels. Then finally, our laser category, this was all brother smoked the competition. I fully expected to see a mix of Brother and HP and some of the others, but Brother just knocked all the others out. So, and the other thing is that they were all monochrome. Nobody picked a color printer, a color laser printer out of this list. It was all the monochrome printers. So leading off was the $200 Brother MFCL2710DW. And yes, I'm looking down to read this. Following that was the $157 Brother HLL2350DW. And then finally was the $103 HL12300D. And somebody please explain to me why printer manufacturers can't use actual names for their printers and they have to go for really weird numbers. Anyhow, the net of this is that while color laser printers are pretty inexpensive now, everybody chose the monochrome. Now we'll be doing a review of an HP color printer, some color laser printer sometime in the next bit, but people want laser printers and they want a monochrome. And I guess it's for the reason you and I were discussing before we started filming, which is that people are printing contracts and documents and things like that out of their laser printers. They're not really printing photos and, knitting patterns and stuff like that. So that is my lightning round of printers.
If I hadn't been careful, David, I think I would have lost my hat. Thank you so much for running through that so quickly. My last question, do you have any tips, like considering consumables that we need to keep in mind when buying a new printer? Ink, paper, tips and tricks for us?
Yeah, definitely. So consumables are probably the big thing. There's the story of selling the razor blades instead of the razors, that the companies would make more money out of the annuity of constantly selling razor blades. And printers are the same thing. I mean, we all know that inkjet ink is very expensive. And if you look at these photo printers, each one of these photo printers uses its own unique paper as well. So when you price your printer, you may find a $77 printer, but you may wind up spending hundreds of dollars in paper and ink and all that sort of stuff as well. One of the new big things that printer manufacturers have decided they like is a monthly subscription to inkjet ink or toner cartridges, where they like the Netflix model of you pay $10 a month or $15 a month, and then when they think you're out of ink or something, they'll send you new stuff. But you need to price that, because if you only print rarely, it doesn't make sense to do that. If you're a business that wants to forecast your expenses, it may make a lot of sense. So you're looking at consumables, you're looking at these subscription things. I mentioned shipping. Be very careful about shipping. Look at warranty. Refurb printers are probably not the best idea because they're entirely mechanical, so be careful with that. You might want to be careful about the inks and paper that you use. There's a big market in aftermarket ink. And while that sometimes works, and certainly ink is expensive, do be aware that if it's the wrong chemical combination, it not only could jam up or destroy your printer, but it could explode all over your house or your office as well. And so, if you're going to try this, try it carefully. And, again, caveat emptor, buyer beware. This is a shockingly active market for something as sort of mundane as a printer.
Those are really good tips. It's a really good point. I know, for example, I'll find like a really good deal on a printer, and I'll get so caught up in how cheap that printer is, I'll forget to look at how much the ink costs, how much the paper costs, and then I finally get around to looking at it, and it's three times the cost of the printer, and that's just not going to be doable for most people's budgets. So David Gewertz, thank you so much. We appreciate your help. We appreciate your tips. We love this list. For anybody out there who's looking to get a printer, like David said, he'll be testing some different ones later on down the road. So be sure to stick with ZDNet so you can see how those perform. As always, thank you so much for watching. Drop us a comment if you have a favorite printer that you absolutely love and just cannot seem to part with. I'd love to know about it. As always, thanks so much. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and stick with ZDNet for all things tech.